Hi, welcome to this segment of Digital Discoveries, and this segment I'm really excited about because today we're talking about project share accounts for all of our secondary students here in EPISD. So I'm targeting this segment to our secondary students. So if you're in middle school, you're in high school, this one's just for you. So most of you are probably saying, well, what is Project Share? Why would I even want to be interested in that? So I'm going to walk everybody through Project Share and kind of show you what you're going to get with your account. And so let's go ahead and take a look. To go to Project Share, it's a website that actually has all these really interesting and really cool 21st century learning skills items. So those things that you probably know about, blogs, wikis, instant messaging, emails, all those things that you have to go to all these different kinds of places. In Project Share, they're actually all kind of put in one place. So you can actually go up online, use your Project Share account, and create an e-portfolio. What's really neat about Project Share is that once you get an account, you've got a website, so you already automatically have a website created. And so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how to set up your Project Share account, where to go to get your account code, how to log in, and then in upcoming segments we'll talk about actually creating Project Share content. So let's go to the first place to go to is actually Project Share. And so the Project Share website, I'm going to zoom in there so you can see it, is this one. It says projectsharetexas.org. That's the website that you want to go to. And once you get to Project Share website, you're going to find something like this. Now you can do a lot of stuff on Project Share without even logging in to Project Share. There's a lot of resources that are available for you as a student, let me just kind of show you a couple of them. If you're interested, they have some really interesting videos, and the way to find those is if you click on that first thing up there at the very top. Notice we haven't even gone, we haven't even scrolled down the page. We're at the very top of the page. They have this thing called the Resource Index, and if you click on the Resource Index, it'll take you to all these really interesting videos called OnTrack videos. And what OnTrack videos are a series of videos that are set up to assist you in class. So if you're not getting a concept in class, you're not understanding something in class, you can go to Project Share instead of having to go to YouTube, for instance. You can go to Project Share, and they've kind of put them all in one place. Of course, you can actually go to YouTube if you want, but Project Share kind of puts them in a single location for you. So say, for instance, you're having trouble, I'm just going to go to this first one here, analyzing graphs of quadratic functions. Maybe you're in algebra class and you're like, man, I have no idea what's going on with that. You can actually click on that, for instance, and that'll take you to a video. And here's an interesting video. And there's lots and lots of videos that explain some kind of topic here. And this one is Diet Coke and Mentos experiment, which talks about analyzing graphs of quadratic functions. So a lot of you probably have seen this video up there on YouTube. But what happens here, isn't that such a cool experiment? I love that experiment. So if you sit there and watch it, you might think, well, what does that have to do with analyzing graphs of quadratic functions? Well, as you go through the video, they actually talk about the way those graphs are set up, the way how those quadratic functions relate to that. And so there's like a whole, you keep scrolling down, and you find that there's some things to work with. If you're not understanding that concept there, you're like, then these kinds of things help you out. So for instance, here we go. If all the paths of the soda in the video were graphed on the same set of axes, they would have a blank value. So I'm going to I'm going to click positive. I'm just going to drag it right there. Oh, it's wrong. Maybe a different value. No, I'm really bad. A negative value. I got that one right. So, and you go through, and so there are little games and videos and things to help you understand the concepts that are doing in class. So that's just one example of something that you find on Project Share. There's tons and tons of stuff that's available for you. You know, a lot of times we are in class and the teacher explains it and the teacher explains it again, and we just don't get that concept. And so you need something else, maybe have some other kind of explanation to get you to understand that concept so you can be successful in class. That's what Project Share is designed to do. Project Share is designed to help you understand those concepts. And so what the state of Texas is doing, and the state of Texas actually owns Project Share, they're rolling out more and more of those OnTrack resources for each class. And I think what their ultimate goal is to have these resources available for all of our classes. So let's, really quick, you're going to scroll through that. Then you get down to the bottom of the page. And in the bottom of the page, there's something that says for students. And if you click, if you see that, I'm going to zoom into it right there. It's going to say, well, what about Project Share? There's some news, probably not really interested in that, but it's kind of cool that there's like 1 million people using Project Share in Texas. And that's all the students, all the teachers in Texas. Educators, what can educators do? But we're interested where it says students. So if you click on students there, something really interesting pops up. It's the user guide for Project Share. And the user guide will guide you through how to use the program. If you get stuck, this is a good place to go back. It's a great resource. If you can't figure it out on your own, great resource to go and explain it. So if you click on it, and then you can it's like a little book. If you see, I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. You can see it's like, it's got this little thing. It's like, turn me, turn me. And so you turn the page, and there's the page. And you can make this full screen, which is what I'm going to do here. And so you can see this is the whole Project Share instruction manual. It explains everything that's going on in Project Share, explains how to use it, explains what happens if you misuse it, if you use it incorrectly. And so if you just scroll through there, read it, I think, personally, I think that most of you guys can probably figure out Project Share really quickly without any kind of instruction. But if you do get stuck, this is a place to go back to. So this is on the very first page, before you even log in, before you even I haven't even done anything. You got resources that are available, you got the instructions that are available. So just on that very first page, there's a lot of stuff just for you guys. Okay, so now let's log into Project Share. And so everybody has an account. So how do you know what your account is? No one's told you what your account is. How do I know what the account is? Well, there's a very easy way to find out what your account is. All of our librarians at our secondary schools, middle and high school, have a spreadsheet, and that spreadsheet has your account name on it. Now your account name is usually pretty obvious, like mine might be Tim Holt or something like that. But not everybody's is very obvious, because there might be another Tim Holt somewhere. So mine might be Tim Holt 23 or Tim Holt, 64 or something like that. Some names are very common, like if your name starts with a J and your last name's Lopez, J Lopez, there's a lot of J Lopez's out there. And so the Epsilon environment, the Project Share environment, might assign you a name like J Lopez 47, J Lopez 123, depending on how many J Lopez's there are in the Project Share community. So you have to go to your library. You have to go to your librarian, get that from that librarian. Get your username from your librarian. So the username from your librarian. What's your password? Password's real easy. Your password is your student ID number. So username, get from the librarian. Password, your user ID, is your student ID number. So everybody's got that 6-digit student ID number. It should be pretty obvious there. So I'm going to log in, and I'm just going to show you what you get when you get an account here in Project Share. And in upcoming episodes, we'll talk about what you can do with it. So my username just happens to be tholt23, and my password is a little bit longer. So I'm going to log in here, hopefully. And once I log in, you're going to end up with that page right there. And that's called your portal. And that's where everything happens. So if some of you have Facebook pages, this is kind of like the first page on Facebook. This is like the place where you land when you log into Facebook. And it's not there's not a lot there. You're thinking, there's not a whole lot going on there. But If you have messages like from your teachers or from other students, it's going to be showing up here and things I need to know. I've had one visitor over the last 30 days. Wow, I've had one visitor and I just started this. Now remember, what's really cool about Project Share is that every student in the state of Texas has a Project Share account. So you can actually connect online and do work and do academic work with students in Houston and students in Dallas, Laredo, all over the state of Texas, because this is something that's being used all over the state of Texas. You can also do work with students across EPISD. So if you're a student at Irvin, for instance, you can work collaboratively online in Project Share with students that are at Coronado or at Burgess. Burgess students can work with Silva students, and so on and so forth. Moorhead students can work with Wig students, and so you're not limited by the people that are just in your physical environment. You can actually get online and connect with people all over the place. So really quick, I just want to show you some of the things that are available, and again, we'll talk later about how to fill all this stuff out. This site that you land on is kind of like that first page in Facebook. It's called your portal. This is kind of where all your main information is going on. If you click on that next button right there, my Eportfolio, these are all things that will show up on your website. And so what you have to do is you have to start going through and filling in information. Just like any website, you've probably been to websites where in order to create an account on that website, you have to fill in some information, your first name, your last name, things like that. We want to make sure that you're not filling in incorrect information. So when it's asking for things like addresses or things like phone numbers or anything like that, make sure that you use your school address and make sure that you use your school phone number, because we don't want to give out real personal information here on your Project Share account. So make sure when it's asking for your contact info, you're giving very generic information. So you can see here my Timmy Holt thing, it's asking for my phone number. And you can actually say who you want to see these things. And so when you create it, you can do that too. So don't put very specific information. You can also put in welcome notes, because what's really interesting about this is that on your ePortfolio, all that stuff ends up being on your website. So your ePortfolio material ends up creating your website. So the more that you create in your on your ePortfolio, the more filled out your website is. So just looking at some of the things that you can do, there's contact information if somebody's trying to get a hold of you. If you have an email address, that's where you'd put it. Some welcome notes if you have pictures or videos about you. Now remember, this is an academic product, and so we're putting up academic material. We're not trying to put up funny videos that we saw on YouTube, things like that. What we want to do is use this as kind of a place where you're shining, a place where you're showing your best work. There's other places on the internet for you to do goofy stuff, and if you want to do goofy stuff anywhere else, that's between you and your parents and the websites that you put that stuff up. For EPISD materials, we want to make sure that when you're using Epsilon, you're using your finest material, you're showing yourself off. There's an old saying about you're putting on your Sunday best, you're putting on your best suit here, and that's what we want to do when we're using Project Share, putting on your best stuff. Quick links, if you want somebody that's on your website to go to a specific website, you can put that. You can put up your resume. You can showcase your work. That's really a cool thing. You can actually put up a showcase so that others can see your best work, and no one can take those down. No one can download. So if you've got any kind of file, a video file, an audio file, a written file, you can post that up online. Remember what you can do here. Remember what you can do here. You're kind of like putting together a portfolio of your best work. So if you ever apply for a college and somebody says, hey, what have you done? You can actually point them to your Project Share website and say, here's what I've done. Look at my showcase. See my best work. If you're in football and there's some videos of you running for the touchdown, put it in your showcase. If you're in drama and there's videos of you acting in a play, put it in your showcase so that others can see it, because what you're trying to do here is put up your best work. And so what's really neat about that is that if you're moving from grade level to grade level to grade level, your teachers can also see what you've done in previous years. That's kind of a neat thing to do too. You don't have to start from scratch with your teachers. You can actually, your teachers can go back, look at your website and say, oh, look at this guy, this gal can really do some great work. You can actually create a blog. You can actually start a blog site where you can put down kind of like your daily diary if you want. You can actually limit what people can get in and out of with access keys. You can actually change the look and feel. You're not stuck with this dull kind of blue-gray color that you have here. You can actually change the color of your website, and you can actually say what you want. If you don't want a blog to show up on your website, you don't have to say, I don't want that blog. Your interests, remember, you want to put what your academic interests are here. You want it because what you're doing here is you're showing off, you're showcasing your best stuff. And so just to give you an idea, now, because we haven't done anything here in Project Share, I want to show you what my website looks like. I'm going to click on it really quick. And it's not going to be very impressive because I haven't done anything to it. There's nothing there. I have not filled in anything yet. So if I go back to my ePortfolio, start filling in information, then my website starts looking a whole lot better. And so it's kind of like you can have an empty box, which is what you get automatically. You get an empty box, or you can start filling in things on your box. And so that's where we want to go with our Project Share websites. There's mail. There's email. You have an automatic email account. You can actually work in groups. I think what's going to happen eventually is that your teachers are going to be setting up groups, your class groups, that you can answer questions back for your teachers. You can actually have an online calendar that can remind you about things like upcoming tests, and you can enter, when vacation is. Those are always cool things, put where the vacation is. So these are just some of the things that you can do in Project Share. And so again, this is a blank slate right now. We have an empty box, and in upcoming episodes we'll talk about how to fill that box in. And just really quick, I'm clicking on themes really quick. You can see that they already have, you can't change the look so much of the Project Share website. It's not designed to be fancy, lots of fanciness. The content is the king here. And so what they have, though, are the most popular school colors. So probably your school color is somewhere in there, and you can use that as your starting point. So really quickly, let's recap what we got here. Every one of our secondary students now have Project Share accounts. Every one of our students have Project Share accounts. How do you find out your username? You have to go to your campus librarian. Your campus librarian has a list. She'll give you, he or she will give you your username. Your password is going to be your student ID. So your 6-digit student ID, that's your password. Why would you want to use Project Share at all? It's because you're creating a portfolio of your work that can follow you from class to class, from grade level to grade level to grade level. And what's really neat about it is that you can take this stuff with you after you graduate from EPISD. You can take all that work with you in your Project Share and just move it on. If you move to a university setting, you can take your Project Share account with you. So that's what Project Share is. And in the upcoming weeks and months, we're going to be coming out to your campuses and helping you set up your Project Share accounts with you and your teachers. And I hope you use it. I hope that you will take advantage of this free tool that's provided by the state of Texas. It's a great tool. It's free. It's open to anybody that's one of our secondary students here in EPISD. And I want to thank you for joining me for this episode, the Student Project Share. That's probably the most exciting thing we've done in a long time. Everybody now has a Project Share account. I'm excited about it. So thank you for joining me. We'll see you next time on Digital Discoveries.